Hello everyone, happy you could be here. Let's dive in. Sit at My Grave, Season 3, Ego's Death, Chapter 38. Pen scribbled the paper, spreading its fresh ink, conveying a plethora of tangled thoughts across the pages. The air had gotten colder, the day was new, sun delicately shining, the sweet, earthy musk of the outside begging to be let in, while the deep fragrance of freshly brewing coffee was carefully making itself known within the walls. Arden sat up on his bed, the lamp on, creating a bit more light on the page that held his focus. Today was the day he'd see Edmund. There was an odd heaviness in his body. He'd felt it before he went to bed that night, and he felt it when he woke up early that morning. He himself was slightly shocked he was up so early, without sluggishness pulling him down today, having dealt with prior struggles with keeping this early schedule due to his altered sleep pattern, along with the adjustment of his body being worked, and at the latter half, Ari in moments sabotaging him. Last night was different from those, however. It was something he'd rather forget, but he knew it was important to remember. During the night, he heard the whispering. It made his skin crawl. He tried to ignore it, but it wouldn't go away. He tried to answer it, but couldn't understand the voices enough to properly give them what they wanted. He felt the pull to get up, so he did. He was guided around that empty house. Everyone else had been sleeping, and he stalked through the cold halls. His head hurt. He felt hazy. The voices wouldn't halt for that. He was led to what he could only guess was the study. The room was sealed off. The whole way to get there had boxes in front of it. Arden struggled to get past. Without looks at the door when he made it there, it seemed to be the only place they didn't bother to keep tidy. Nothing was changed. It was aged, dusty, the wood slightly worn. Arden raised his hand towards it, but eventually shuddered. It was almost like he came back too. He couldn't hear the voices anymore. His focus came back. When he looked around, he could feel the chill up his spine as he struggled to get out. He tried to make as less noise as possible getting back to his and Yari's room, but his limbs were shaking, the hair standing up on his neck. He got into bed, that heavy feeling still coursing his body as he lay down to sleep. Arden sat on his bed in the morning now, recalling bits of the events in his writing, along with his thoughts in hopes that he was on the right path, that Josiah had been trying to communicate with him, instead of that other entity. Arden flipped the page, starting anew from his paranormal discoveries. Learning from that and about himself were going hand in hand. He bit into the inner parts of his lip as he wrote this down. I am Arden Adler, 19 years old, traveling abroad. I'm not perfect. I'm beginning to question what that even is. I think I have good qualities, but as it stands, I don't think I'm a good person, Arden wrote carefully. Before, even thinking something like this wouldn't have been on the table. Even looking at it now was hard, but that's just because he knew it was the truth. After seeing how other people dealt with things in their lives and knowing what he'd done, whether on accident or not, he couldn't justify himself. He thought, or rather hoped, he'd come back to that paragraph and write differently later, and be someone he and the rest of his family could be proud of. But he was sure, even as he was about to start his day, he wouldn't make the right decisions. At the beginning of this journey, he had wondered if Reed would be proud of him. What had he shown him to be proud of, really? He began burning bridges and feeling self-entitled. Even now, he knew in the back of his mind, though he felt responsible for what happened, somehow he still had this dull thought that if he could bring Reed back, he'd get the redemption he was yearning for, without ever having to fully and completely accept what he'd done. He wouldn't have to sit in the despair of what he caused. You're up. You're trying to beat me to the field, aren't you? I haven't forgotten our bet. Last of the field does both halves of the work today. Yari's slightly hoarse voice spoke up as he drug himself out of bed. Arden had to try hard not to flinch, the sudden voice startling him. He ignored him, though, not even bothering to look his way, finishing his writing. Arden heard him mutter something under his breath in his language. He learnt by now that was his clever way of cussing him out, as he did it so often. If you're so eager to go out to the field, shut up and go, Arden yelled at him, turning towards him. only to be met with a pillow thrown to his face before Yeri left off to the bathroom. Arden was up in a hurry, pounding at the bathroom door. "You had your chance," Yeri told him behind it. The smugness in his voice got under Arden's skin. He kept convincing himself he had more important things to deal with, but he found himself with gritted teeth, having to turn himself away from that door. "Good morning, Arden," Chrissy greeted as soon as he descended from the stairs. "How'd you sleep?" A silly question after. "Good morning. I slept fine," Arden muttered, coming to the room with them. "Good to hear. I'm gonna be working you mercilessly today," Exili warned him. Arden gave him a look, causing him to laugh out. "Don't be like that. I gotta get my money's worth after all. You'll be leaving us today," he reminded him. Arden's eyes widened. This could be his last chance. He felt so close to something, yet so far. "Do we have to talk about this now?" Chrissy questioned in annoyance. "Don't worry. Yeri will be staying with us for a while. You won't get too lonely, dear," Elka told her. Chrissy frowned up. "Having something bitter every day does not make you acquire a taste for it," she muttered, making her mother laugh. Arden stayed quiet, watching the Neelys talk with each other. He couldn't stop his mind being elsewhere. "Please, I promise I'll be careful. Nothing crazy at all. I won't even run," Chrissy promised. Arden shook his head a little, tuning back in. "Chrissy," Exili said in a warning tone. "I already said please. What more can I do?" Chrissy questioned, hugging him. Exili sighed. "Arden, would you like to accompany my daughter out today instead of working in the field? You won't have to worry about missing the flight," Exili spoke. He placed the ticket along with some cash for transportation on the table, pushing it towards Arden. "It's later tonight. My father should be arriving sometime this afternoon," he assured Arden. "If you say no, then you don't get the ticket," Chrissy joked, placing her hand over it, looking at Arden while he sat. She smirked at him. Arden rolled his eyes slightly at her. "Come on, let me show you around one last time," she said, putting her hand out to him. "Okay, fine," Arden agreed, taking her hand, standing up. Need to be there for Edvin, but he was a little desperate to leave that house. Those hallways seemed so narrow looking down them after that incident. Or maybe it was his throat closing, creating that illusion. "Thanks for the money," Arden said, taking it and his ticket off the table. "No thanks needed. You earned it," Exili said with a nod. Arden gave him a lingering look, but eventually just nodded back. "Ugh, and what are you doing back up here?" Arden heard the annoyed voice as he was pulling his shirt up over his head. He'd gone up to shower and get ready for the day, as he agreed to go out with Chrissy instead of working. The room had been empty when he came back, but... "Last to the field does both halves of the work. Why am I working while you're prettying up?" Yeri questioned, frowning. "I'm going home today," Arden answered, throwing his shirt off, removing his necklace, placing it in his open suitcase, having planned on packing when he got back with Chrissy. "I didn't ask about that. I asked why you weren't honoring our bet," Yeri replied, folding his arms. "Do I have to spell it out for you? I'm going home later tonight. My last shift was yesterday. The bet is null and void." Arden fussed back. They glared at each other. "You are the type to break a bet, huh? You look like the type. You can't keep a promise," Yeri spat. "Do you want me to work with you that badly?" Arden mocked him. He paused for a moment. He heard the slight smarminess in his own voice. It sounded like what Reed might say. The resemblance was bittersweet. It always was. "Hey, did your brain give up on you too?" Yeri snarked, snapping his fingers at him before arching an eyebrow, seeing as Arden had zoned out. "I was just thinking about Reed," Arden said aloud. He hadn't meant to answer Yer, but his mind was still fuzzed. "Who's that? Another promise-breaking idiot like you?" Yeri answered. Arden dug his nails into his own palms. His rational side told him Yeri wasn't taking a jab at Reed. He didn't even know him. He was still just angry with him. Much like when he heard Easton bad-mouthing Reed, or even Galen talking about him, he got angry. He'd done nothing to defend him while he was here, but he wouldn't be caught not doing it now. "Don't talk about him," Arden commanded. "Ooh, did I strike a nerve?" Yeri taunted. In no time, Arden closed the distance. He already knew what he was doing there. Normally he'd just go back and forth, walk away even, but he saw himself putting his hands on Yeri, shoving him. "Can you hear? I said shut up!" Arden warned again. Yeri pushed him back. keep talking to me like that and you'll be going home with a black eye, Yuri responded, returning a hard shove, making Arden stumble back. They continued putting their hands on each other, pushing, shoving, the exchange slowly becoming more aggressive, Yuri's shirt getting ruffled in the process. Despite the anger rising in him, something else Arden noticed was the slight strength he had built. It wasn't a lot, but after the physical labor he'd been doing, there was a difference in his normal weak abilities. Yuri wasn't falling to the ground with this tussle, obviously. He was still stronger. Arden was almost mesmerized by his own self being built up to even do this. They both pulled away before it got any worse, as they heard footsteps approaching. They're both left with reddening welts, though Arden still couldn't shake the feeling of wanting to do more, regardless of knowing he couldn't. Yuri remained glaring at him with intent. "Ready to go, Arden?" Chrissy yelled at the door, both slightly relieved it hadn't been silly. "Yeah, almost," Arden answered back, finally unlocking their eyes. He still felt his adrenaline pumping and quickly ripped himself from that situation, leaving Yuri still just watching. Arden forced himself away in the bathroom, but Yuri was still left in their room alone. He quietly fixed his clothes, still fuming. He glanced at the bathroom door, about to walk over, but he stopped, Arden's open luggage catching his eye instead.